Cross is obviously an iconic character beloved by
Mhm.
millions of people, and
Yeah.
you're not the first person to play him. So how did you approach making sure your version of Cross was different, both from prior screen versions and the book version?
By not trying to consider other versions at all. I think every actor has to maintain independent individuality when they approach any character, right? That's the artist process. So I just thought about the honest foundation of his desires, his wants. What is his current situation as a man? Where can I connect to those things personally with my own life experience? And then it becomes a really easy process from there. When you focus on the nucleus of a character's honesty, it eliminates so many other factors that would serve to only deter your creativity. So really, you come up with your own version by not even trying to come up with your own version. You don't focus on that. You just focus on the character's honesty.
Right. It just comes from the heart and from the page. Yeah.
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 Because here's the thing, and something else I love to tell actors is that you can have 10 guys in the room do the same audition for the same role. You're all going to do it differently. No matter how hard you try to do it the same, you're going to do it differently because what innately builds up your value as a performer is already inside of you. You ain't got to go looking for it, searching for it. Like, you just need to tap in, you know? So when you know that's already there, it gives you sort of a comfort and ease, and all you have to do from that point is just be confident in your choices, be confident in your connection with the character and how you see the narrative.
Did you audition for this, or did they come to you with this?
I was privileged enough to be approached by
Cool.
Ben Watkins for this. When Ben told me that when he was adapting this project, I was the first and only actor in his mind, which is really it's an amazing honor because very rarely does it happen in your career. And when it does happen, I mean, it says a lot about places you're supposed to be that you have no control over. It says a lot about having faith in the future of, your destiny and what you're trying to do. And then it also says a lot about you stepping up to the plate of, being responsible for your potential. These opportunities come because you're supposed to be in these positions. And now it's up to you. What do you want to do with it? How do you want to maximize it? How do you want to highlight and celebrate the people around you that put you in this position? So, for me, it was very lucky and fortuitous, but yeah, it's just one of those chance happenings, once in a lifetimes.
You've been working since you were a kid and been in so many
Yeah.
things and have progressively gotten bigger and bigger roles until you got Cross. It's been a
Mm.
20-year process, right?
36 years.
36 years. Yeah, right. So how does it feel to finally have, something like this, this level of hit show where you're number one on
Mm.
the call sheet?
Well, it feels amazing, but something about being in this position where you are a part of a legacy project like this that has been so successful. The first thing is gratitude, absolutely. And then the second is, I think for me, the acknowledgement of what it is that we built and trying to maintain driving that even further. I probably should spend more time just sitting and like celebrating and taking it all in, but I'm I have a voracious appetite for pushing the work and exploring sort of the potential of how much deeper we can push and how much more informed we can be about touching on the subject matter, how much more we can infuse nuance into how we do it. So anytime I see a monicum of success or attention thrown our way, it just pushes me further into the creative process of trying to figure out how we can now push it, and make it as big as possible on the next go round and the next go round. And how do we keep up the momentum and because I don't think that you ever stop growing or evolving in your craft and whatever you do. So it gives me another opportunity at bat to try to just get that other piece of artistic brilliance. I think the first season it was maddening how amazing everybody was and how everything just naturally fell into sync. So we got really lucky with our crew, our cast, our writers, our producers. Obviously, Ben Watkins he's a giant. So we're in the right house. I love where I'm at, but all the favor that we get, I'm deeply grateful for, but it just pushes me to try to dig a little deeper on the next go round.
You kind of just alluded to it, but like, when did you know like this show was going to be a hit? Like, was there a moment during production where you were like, oh, this is really working?
I know it was working, but I never sat in it feeling like it's going to be a hit. I now that's not to say that I didn't think it was going to be a hit. It's one of those things I eliminate from my thought process because it distracts me from doing the work. I try to remove anything that would subdue me into comfort when it comes to, how I approach what it is I'm doing, because I never want to miss the opportunity to to actually do the work, to actually grow. The moment I feel like, oh yeah, I'm convinced we got it, that's the moment where I'm gonna start slipping. That's the moment where I'm gonna start missing things I need to do. Is when I might start making mistakes, because I'm too smooth, too comfortable, too cool. And the thing is, there's so many projects out there that are absolutely fantastic. I'm talking top tier, stellar, um, creatively transformative, that don't get the love. So it's not always about how good you are. Sometimes right time, right positioning, right support, and right moment. And when all those things are aligned, you really just, again, it goes back to just being grateful for having that rare, lightning strike where you get to enjoy all of that. You get to feel it and let that inform you and educate you. But it's there's a lot of luck that meets intention that puts us where we're at, and I can't quantify it in sort of a recipe, but I can just say I'm very happy and grateful, and I'm a lucky bastard.
But was there a moment like when like on set like where you felt like, oh, like this is coming together in such a beautiful way?
I already knew that from the first 10, 15 pages of the script. For me these days, when it comes to a script, if I'm experienced enough in my relationship with my career that I can be confident when I know something hits me the way I need it to hit me. When I read those first 10 pages of the script, earlier iteration of the script had the interrogation scene up first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the very first thing I read. And coming off of some previous works, I had questions about how to just exist without addressing other societal norms that are depravative, right? Why do I have to always explain myself in a room? Why do I always have to have an excuse for my intellect, my brilliance, in the character? This washed away all of those things.
Hmm.
He just existed. He was suave, he was smooth, he was elegant, eloquent, articulate, still edgy, still raw, um, dominant, imposing without having to impose. He was the blueprint of the kind of personality or the kind of man that I would even aspire to be. So knowing that and understanding what the value of that representation is and what it looks like, that's what got me going. So I knew from just the first couple pages, yo, this is where I want to be. It's what I want to do. After that, honestly, the next anchor was we casted Isaiah Mustafa, who played Samson, and that relationship there, both on screen and off screen, is hugely integral to where we go with the show. Because if you don't believe that, it's hard to believe the rest of what's going on with the show. And I gotta give love to my man Isaiah, because he's a giant in the space that we're working in, and he adds so much substance. He's massive, and his humility, his work ethic, you know, all that matters. But every single cast member we have is top 10. Everybody breaks it. But that's my brother in arms. You see us the most, and if you don't believe that brotherhood, you don't believe what's there. So really, again, we got really lucky with the right people, man.
Oh, that's yeah, that right. That makes sense that it was that interrogation scene, because that's the scene. You're like, oh, this is it. This is the show.
I was like, hell yeah. That's what I want to be a part of. Are we doing this every season? Hell yeah. Man, Ben Watkins, man, he's such a, I feel like there's a clairvoyance to his method when he writes, and I feel like he's so well seasoned and experienced. Also just a great human being. I counsel him on life stuff all the time, just trying to figure out, you know, my right from my left, man. And he's been a great teacher, a great friend, but he's really brilliant at what he does, and how he does it is where I think the magic is really made. It's about how you can have a great plan, but without execution, you have nothing. Um, and that is what you see in terms of I think the real root of our success. It comes down to I think how Ben has composed not only the teams but the tone that we manage on set. You know, for people to come to work, feel good, feel incentivized to do their best. Again, it's not always like that. I've been on some sets where I'm like, damn, I can't wait to go home. You know, and on Cross, I'm like, damn, I can't wait to go back to work.
Have you felt your life change in any way? Is how like can you quantify how your life has changed?
Business has improved, but business has also shifted. New advantages have been presented at the same time. New challenges have been presented. Anytime there's a sort of a shift in positioning or an evolution of one's particular space, you're going to feel the good and the bad, or the tough and the unknown. Um, so have I felt it shift in a major way? I can't say so personally, but at the same time, like I'm the dude who walks around and doesn't think people that I don't I walk around without the awareness that people know who I am, you know, because I've been in this business since I was three, man. I've been in this business so long that I see it from a very different perspective, and I rescind all of the, you know, the rose-colored glasses hoopla about it. And I get down to the root of what this business actually is. So again, new advantages, also new challenges, and it's just teaching me how to sort of conform to where I'm at now. You know, I have different assets, different access to tools, but I also have a different level of scrutiny, different responsibilities I have to step up to. So yeah, I haven't. It's not like a big boom pivotal shift. It's a very smooth, you know, integration into I suppose what this new world is, but it feels very much similar and the same. Like I said, I just have new challenges and new advantages. I have to figure out how to manage that in my life.
And you've been in so many things. You've been but what do people recognize you for the most?
Leverage gets a lot of love, which I'm very happy about. Very most surprised about actually, because that show, I mean, I'll be 39 soon. I started that show on my 21st birthday. To have a project stick around that long, that has been the longest running project I've ever been a part of. But yeah, I mean, every role sort of has its own fan base, and I kind of it's fun. Sometimes people run up, hey man, I know you from somewhere, and I'm like, where? They're like, tell me what you did. I'm like, nah, we not go. You. I don't know what TV you watch. You tell me, you know, because I'll run down a list. I'm like, it was this show, this show, this show. They're like, it was that one episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, how, what the hell? You know that? But yeah, man, it's always very random. But yeah, Leverage, One Night in Miami, Black Adam gets love, Hidden Figures. Yeah. Honestly, yeah, it's very very particular, but Cross gets a different kind of love.
Hmm.
You know, honestly, back to your earlier question, I'd say the biggest change that I had to adjust to is prior to Cross, it was you know, people who would show love. That, yo, man, you're that actor from that thing, and you know, God, y'all, man, either way, look, man, keep doing your thing, you know, and that's cool. But now, more often, people say my name. You
Mm.
know, I'm going around, you know, strangers out here calling me out by my government name, and I'm just, oh, you know, hey, Aldis. I'm like, what? You know, and I'm like, oh yeah, Cross, got it. So that has changed, which is a weird adjustment because
Yeah.
again, when you walk in down the street, look, man, I was raised in Jersey, New York. Okay, I was raised in somebody call you out your name, you ready to squab up, you ready to get it, you on defense. No, it's fun. It's been fun, but it is it's an adjustment because they'd be like, hey, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm not thinking, oh, you must know me from that show. I don't think I'm thinking, how do we know each other? Where did we meet? Like, what? Oh, you money or something? Like, what's you know, like what? You know what I mean? And And my mind does that dance until they say, aren't you from that thing? I'm like, oh, okay, now it's a different process, you know. People forget that we're still strangers and we don't know what's going on all the time. And when you call my name, I'm thinking about, you know, I got to go get my daughter from school. I got to go pay these bills. I'm not even in the sense of, oh, yeah, you must know me from that thing. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, what is that?
Alex Cross has a great wardrobe. Some of the best sweaters I've ever seen, and I love sweaters. But I know how brilliant costume designers are and how carefully
Yeah.
every wardrobe choice is. What do the sweaters bring to the show? Like what character purpose do these?
I think the purpose of the sweaters is to be as tight as possible. They are the sweater equivalent of jeggings. Shout out to Stacey Beverly, who's our costume designer. She's amazing. Love working with Stacey. But we kind of discussed in terms of his wardrobe being a reflection of, you know, who he is as a man. There's a simplicity to it, a rugged regalness to it, but it kind of kicks it to the basics, you know. I think the more simplified he is aesthetically in certain cases, the more it feeds or informs how we understand his approach to the work, to the world. You know, oftentimes the base of complication is simplicity. And as he's breaking down, you know, clues, breaking down the psyche of, you know, somebody he's interviewing or a suspect or whatever, he's going to go to the simplest commonality that most people miss to do his job. So I think that his mindset is reflected in the aesthetic language that he carries when he dresses. You know, he's unassuming, and he's the kind of person, he'll be in a conversation with you with a suspect and he'll hit him with 10 knockouts, you know, that the suspect doesn't even realize until the conversation is done. And then they're like, wait, that just happened? He's like, yeah, I got all the information I need. You ain't even realize you gave yourself up. You know what I mean? So there's an unassuming sort of clever, beguiling, but also at the same time, very sort of debonair, if I may use that term, you know, flow to him. And we want to reflect that in the style.
So Cross has a lot of action scenes, but also a lot of vulnerable, intimate ones.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a preference of action scenes or emotional scenes?
They all gel together. One doesn't exist without the other, or rather, you need them to balance one another to justify. You know, in the space of dealing with Cross, he can be this titular action hero that we feel is so far extensive beyond our reach. But what brings him back to us with connection is his humanity. The fact that he does fear, that he does laugh, cry, love, and feel as we feel. So when he is doing the superhero thing, we ourselves can also feel like that's reachable, that's touchable, because it doesn't come without sacrifice. It doesn't come without being earned. But it also shows that even in the midst of dealing with your own issues, your own frustrations, your own sense of loss or lack, you can still be effectively brilliant, you know, as you walk through the world. And I think that you need them to balance out. You know, Ben was saying there's a difference between sort of the hero and the superhero, and he wanted to write a hero. You know, the superhero is nearly impervious, you know, invincible, and, you know, to a degree almost unattainable. These are not Ben's words, but, you know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
you know, deducing what he said in my own words. But basically, the theory is that superheroes, you know, we idolize the idea of something that we almost cannot be. Heroes are the perfect balance between a superhero with being able to achieve and attain and accomplish many great things, but you are still also human and you have to struggle for those things. And sometimes you might lose a couple of those fights that we want you to win. But then you got to get back up. Is winning the fight more important or more interesting than getting back up and preparing for the next day after a fight you lost? Who's to say? But you got to have it all in there, because that's what we do and go through on a regular basis as human beings. That's what keeps him, you know, relatable. That's what keeps him recognizable. And to me, far more interesting than somebody who, throws every punch and lands every one of them.
It's a great scene in the finale when Alex sits down with the man he brutalized and apologizes and grapples with the complexity of being a black cop in America. So
Yeah.
how did you approach performing that scene in particular?
Oh, I didn't even have to think about how to approach that one, man. Uh, I was so happy for that scene, and even the way it doled out to the point where Alex put out his hand and the young man didn't take it, because that's a representation of one, what we feel and exhibit, and go through on a regular basis, but also Alex standing up and taking accountability and responsibility for his actions. I want to see more of that. God, how I would love to see police officers in real life say, look, regardless of what it looks like, regardless of politics, regardless of my badge, I made the wrong mistake I made the wrong choice. What can I do to correct it? Because that would set a greater example of how they see the public, but it also would help the public, you know, feel a little bit more secure. When somebody's doing something and they're doing it because they know they can get away with it, obviously they're protected by government, by this, by whatever, it leaves you feeling a sense of loss. It leaves you feeling hopeless. What can we do? But when you have police officers who are willing to be the ones to stand up and say, look, regardless of what goes on, there's a right way to do the job and the wrong way to do the job. I want to do it the right way. And this choice over here was not right. You know what I mean? What can we do to correct it? How can we mend our relationship with the community? That to me is truly what the job is supposed to be about. So if we're going to represent sort of different facets of what the police life looks like, I love that we get to show what the right choice is or should be through Alex Cross.